All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we are diving into a shift that is completely changing the business landscape. We're talking about supply chain sustainability. It used to be a PR bonus, just a nice-to-have initiative, but now it's an absolute non-negotiable requirement for doing business on a global scale. We're going to look at this through the lens of the world's most dominant rating platform. If you're a supplier, manufacturer, or exporter, the rules of engagement are changing incredibly fast, and sustainability is literally the strict gatekeeper for your B2B relationships.
So, let me ask you, are you losing global contracts because of your ESG score? Seriously? This is a very real, very frustrating struggle right now for B2B companies. Multinational buyers across manufacturing, textiles, electronics, logistics, they're all demanding hard proof of your environmental, social, and governance practices before they'll even consider sitting down at the negotiating table. If you can't prove your compliance, you absolutely risk losing long-standing purchasing contracts to competitors who actually can.
And to put the sheer scale of this into perspective, we are talking about over 175,000 companies currently rated by the EcoVadis system. This isn't just some niche, optional standard, it's a massive, interconnected global system used across more than 230 industries, spanning over 180 countries. It essentially acts as a shared standard that takes scattered, messy sustainability data and turns it into trusted, comparable ratings.
To help you navigate this compliance maze, we've put together an insider's playbook. We're going to cover 1. What is EcoVadis? 2. The 4 evaluation themes. 3. 2026 methodology updates. 4. Common supplier pitfalls. And finally, 5. Strategies for winning medals.
Okay, part 1. What is EcoVadis? Moving beyond pass/fail compliance. Now, there's a really stark distinction we need to clear up right away. A lot of folks tend to confuse an EcoVadis rating with a standard ISO certification. But an ISO certification is essentially a pass or fail setup, right? You either have the management system in place or you don't. EcoVadis, on the other hand, gives you a scorecard ranging from 0 to 100 points. This score reflects the actual real-world maturity of your sustainability management system, all based on the concrete evidence you submit. So it's definitely not just a check-the-box exercise, it's a deeply graded evaluation of how well sustainability is woven into the fabric of your business.
And that graded evaluation? It translates directly into revenue. Rhea Horlock, the global head of CSR at City Electrical Factors, summed it up perfectly. She noted that being able to attract enterprise customers where ESG is a massive priority has been, quote, really important. The crucial takeaway here is that multinational buyers use these scores to actively screen and monitor their supply chains. In most cases, a score of 45 or above is the absolute baseline required just to secure, approve, or renew those lucrative purchasing contracts.
Moving on to part 2. The 4 evaluation themes, the pillars of your ESG score.
Every single assessment is built on these 4 core themes, which altogether encompass 21 specific sustainability criteria. We've got environment, which covers things like your energy use and emissions, labor and human rights, looking deeply at working conditions and safety, ethics, focusing heavily on anti-corruption, and sustainable procurement, which evaluates how well you manage ESG risks in your own supply chain. And the system is actually really smart. The questionnaire you get adapts dynamically to your specific industry, your company size, and your location, so the evaluation is hyper-relevant to your actual operational footprint.
But here's the dynamic that causes a ton of companies to completely stall out. EcoVadis maps those 4 themes onto 3 management pillars: policies, actions, and results. Having a beautifully worded rule on paper, your policy, is just not enough. Assessors weight your actions, like the actual measures you take and the certifications you hold, and your results, like real quantitative reporting, much higher than just your policies alone. You absolutely have to prove implementation and measurable impact, or your score will just get stuck at the bottom.
Section 3. 2026 methodology updates. The rules of the game just changed.
Between April and May of 2026, EcoVadis dropped some major methodology updates. These are largely driven by the European Union's new ESG rating regulation transparency requirements. And wow, the contrast between the old rules and the new reality is strict. Under the old rules, you could prove policy coverage using a revenue-based calculation, and you could actually get points for in-progress certificates, like an ISO 14001 you were just working toward. Well, the 2026 reality leaves absolutely zero room for that. Coverage thresholds of 80% and 95% are now calculated strictly by your employee count or your site count. Revenue calculations are entirely out, and those in-progress certificates, completely rejected. You either have the finalized certification or you get 0 points.
But hey, it's not all tough news. There is a really positive update here too. A sustainability report that is aligned with reference to the GRI standard can now score up to 75 points in the reporting indicator, assuming it passes their other quality checks. Plus, EcoVadis has really expanded its acceptance of external audit reports. So audits like SMETA, M4E BSCI, or even qualified customer audits can now be used as hard, undeniable evidence to support your actions and reporting.
All right, part 4. Common supplier pitfalls. Why good companies get average scores. We know suppliers really struggle to translate their day-to-day practices into evidence that EcoVadis will actually accept. There are 4 major traps here. First, informal policies. You might be doing the right things, but if your documents are missing dates, signatures, or formal ownership, they won't count them. Second, no quantitative data. If you aren't tracking your emissions or safety incidents over time, your results score is going to tank. Third, and please definitely pay attention to this one, weak procurement. Failing to manage the ESG risks of your own suppliers is consistently the lowest scoring theme for manufacturers and exporters. It's a massive blind spot. And finally, 360-degree watch exposure. EcoVadis scans over 100,000 public sources. If you have negative media or regulatory mentions out there about your environmental or labor practices and you haven't formally addressed them with corrective actions, your score is going to be severely penalized.
Finally, Section 5, Strategies for Winning Medals. Let's get into the insider tactics to reach the top.
It is time to pivot to the offense. The competitive reality has totally shifted. Medals are no longer handed out based on a flat score. As of the recent updates, whether you get a medal is determined by your percentile ranking against all companies rated globally over the trailing 12 months. So to win that gold medal, you've got to rank in approximately the top 5% of companies worldwide. The bar is constantly rising, meaning you quite literally have to outpace your global peers to win.
Execution is everything. So here is your 6-step roadmap. Step 1. Target your high-weight industry themes. Don't spread your resources too thin. Focus heavily on the specific theme, like environment or labor, that carries the most weight for your specific industry code. Step 2. Back your policies with documented actions and quantitative results. Step 3. Invest in a key, finalized ISO certification, because it acts as incredibly strong, multi-purpose evidence. Step 4. Proactively monitor and immediately fix any 360-degree watch media issues with documented corrective actions. Step 5. Tackle that tricky sustainable procurement theme by enforcing a strict supplier code of conduct. And Step 6. After your assessment, religiously follow the corrective action plan provided in your scorecard. It maps out exactly what you need to fix for next time.
And when you actually implement these steps, the return on investment can be just staggering. Get this, 37 million euros. That is the income generated since 2023 by just one user, Claudia Colpato, a sustainability and risk manager, after her company earned an EcoVadis gold medal. It wasn't just a shiny plaque for the lobby. It was literally a master key that unlocked massive enterprise contracts and drove real, measurable business growth.
Which leaves us with one final, vital question for you to consider. As global standards keep tightening in 2026 and well beyond, is your sustainability rating going to be a barrier to entry that locks you out of the market? Or are you going to use this playbook to turn it into your ultimate competitive advantage? The roadmap is right here for the taking. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I highly encourage you to pull up your own ESG documentation today and start making these critical adjustments.